on Kroger to speak. Ginger, where's Ginger? Here's your money. I've been giving her such a hard time. Because she wrote down 2 things, and I said, you gotta write more.
There you go.
And she said, okay, is that enough? I said, you gotta write more. And she said, oh, I'm gonna be telling a story. I said, I need more. Then I looked at her, I said, I'm just giving you a hard time. She said, oh. Jenny comes from Phoenix. She's here to share her experience, strength, and hope. She came into Cea-How February 23rd, 2011. And I am so grateful that she agreed to be a speaker, because when I asked her, she said, I can't be there real like on Friday night, real early on Saturday morning, but I'll be there for the afternoon. And I said, thank you so much, because we are always grateful for people that want to give service, and that's what she wanted to do.
Thanks for listening. Thank you, Larissa. Good afternoon. Thank you for not taking a nap and going to your room and resting. I was kind of glad that the room wasn't like overflowing. My name is Ginger, and I am a compulsive eater. There is no doubt in my mind that I suffer from a disease that is cunning, baffling, and powerful. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out to eat like a normal person, and it never worked. Never worked. My promise is you can look the world in the eye. Now, I am a phone bridge junkie, and I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and we're in Mountain Time Zone, and so I am oftentimes awake at 3:30 in the morning on phone bridge. It's insane. But if I'm awake, I think I might as well start the day with my peeps, with my homies, because there's no one like a compulsive overeater who knows what I'm talking about when I talk about my disease. I grew up the youngest of 8 children. My mother stayed home. My father was, we were blue collar, middle class, lower middle class really. And my mother was an amazing homemaker. And literally at every meal, we had home baked goods. That's how my mom showed her love. And so if you were ever sick, she would actually take time from her very busy schedule to give you a little extra TLC. So I, at times, would fake being sick just so my mom would have time to read to me. And when I went to kindergarten, now imagine 8 kids, 13 years apart. When I went to kindergarten, I said to my mom, as serious as I was, Mom, are you going to be okay with me not being at home? How naive. But she survived, and I survived too. But there was sexual abuse in my childhood, and that really totally ruined boundaries and expectations, self-esteem. I mean, I could tell you a whole lot of negative things that happened from that. But it's my history. It's what happened to me. And you know what? Today I'm not a victim, and that's really a great thing. So growing up, I loved food. I absolutely loved food. And I didn't know I was a compulsive eater, although I stole money to buy things. I stole from the corner store, who was a neighbor. I got caught in 3rd grade stealing, and he said, open up your pocket. So I opened up a pocket, and I had to give him all that stuff. But in my other pocket, I had more. And so, I thought that was okay. I didn't have morals in that respect. And when I was in high school, I've always been very active. And I was on student council, and I was in charge of that big old sale that schools usually have. And one of the things my mother taught me is you always take care of the people who are working with you. So while we were sorting boxes, and you just have to know what that stuff smells like, we were sorting boxes and organizing it, I always would open up, and that was part of our profit. You know, we gotta make sure the workers are happy. And I remember being at home with things that I had purchased and sitting up in my room and just eating thing after thing after thing and thinking, something's not right. Something's not right. But I wasn't sure what it was. Now, I am tall and I am very physical. And so I didn't have a weight problem growing up. And I really didn't have a weight problem until I was a stay-at-home mom. And my mother-in-law, for our first holiday, after our daughter was born, gave me a membership to a gym. And her husband would take care of our daughter, and she would drive me to the gym. Because I'm sure she didn't want a daughter-in-law who was overweight, is what I think. I think she loved me. I know she loved me because she gave me recipes. And she always told my husband that I was the best thing that ever happened to him. And unfortunately, she died way, way too many years ago. And so my children really didn't get to know her as much as they should. But I came into weight loss then very seriously, and I joined a group that you would weigh in every week and you paid money, and I became a lifetime member. And I went to aerobics, and I became an aerobics instructor. And so I was thin, and I looked healthy, but I used to cheat even in that program. And when I got to my goal weight, I bought a size 9 green corduroy bell bottoms. I wore them one night because I had reached my goal and I never could wear them again. That's how the program, that's how I am. I am a compulsive eater. I can lose weight, but I could never keep it off. So when I was about 31 years old, my husband came home from work and he said, I lost my job and you're going to need to go back to work. And we had just had our second child. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm going to school and I'm going to be a teacher. And so I took out every student loan that I could and applied for every scholarship and grant that I could. And in 5 years, I graduated. The year before I graduated, I knew I would be doing my student teaching and that I would probably want to be doing my student teaching at a school where I might hope to work one day. So I didn't want to enter the workforce as a fat, middle-aged housewife. And so I thought, I need to lose weight. And I had just backpacked down the Grand Canyon and got pictures of it. And when I got those pictures, now I'm 35 years old, and I look like my mother. And I love my mother. I love my mother. But my mom had a problem with food too. And so I had heard about our sister program, and I went to a meeting. And it's like, hallelujah, hallelujah, I am saved. I am in a room with people who have a disease that I have. I'm not someone who doesn't have self-control or willpower. I have a disease to sugar and flour. There was just one problem. I was unique. And, yeah, I know you guys. Okay, I have all these cards with quotes and where to read, and I'm not following them, but that's the way it is. So in one of the books, it talks about uniqueness and how we walk into the rooms, and, there's people who are different. And, I might have a different sexual orientation. I might have a different financial background. I might have whatever. And so I don't relate to you. Well, I was a full-time student. I had a baby at home, or a young child at home. I had friends. Okay, I had friends. I had so many friends. I sure as heck didn't need to add one more from the room. And when I heard, and you guys, I'm saying this tongue-in-cheek, you do know that, because I have met such fabulous people in these rooms, and they have helped me through so much. But at any rate, when I heard what the tools were, I thought, I'm sorry, I can't do those things. I can't go to 3 meetings a week. I'm going to school full-time. I have, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't. I did not surrender because I did not have the time to do the program as it was written. And I didn't get that that was a problem. And I was in the how of the program, and so, I had a food plan that I followed, and I lost 50 pounds. It was phenomenal. I was a size 4. I'm almost 5'10". Now I'm only 5'8". But I was a size 4. And it was like, holy shamoly, this is pretty exciting. I looked anorexic, I really did. But it didn't matter because I had never been thin like that in my life. I always looked like someone who, was athletic, carried weight, but it was okay weight. I was never a model thin kind of person growing up. So at our meetings, we would stand up and we would qualify. And because I wasn't doing the program as it was written, I was very judgmental of everybody in the room. Because I thought, well, are they really abstinent for 3 years? Did they really only lose 40 pounds? I mean, I would go through a litany of judgments on other people. Not to say what I wasn't doing to myself too, but I always felt I just wasn't quite right. And so after 18 months, I had kind of been fudging with my food plan. I just went out on a binge because I thought, I've got to say that I've got to break my abstinence so that I can get clean again. So I might as well break it and go full force. Well, that led to 21 years, because it was 22 years, 21 years of insanity when it came to food. Now, we talk about bottoms. I never had a bottom that made me stop eating because I have amnesia. I'm a sick person. And I have acid reflux, not because I was bulimic, no offense to anybody who is, but because I would get migraine headaches from eating so much sugar that the only way I could get rid of my headache was by putting my finger down my throat. And now I have acid reflux because I did that so many times. I took so many medicines to help me with my migraines. And I would be throwing up. My head felt like there was a vice on it. And I'd say, okay, God, help me with this. Help me remember. Help me to remember what it's like to feel such pain and agony. And I swear that within 10 minutes of my headache being gone, I was back in the kitchen. I couldn't stop. One time I was hiking with a best friend, and I live in Phoenix, we're the Valley of the Sun, so if you're a valley, then you might have mountains around. And so I was hiking at 5 in the morning, and the night before, I had consumed mass quantities of something. And it's pitch black, and I had to relieve myself. And there was no place to do it because it's a city park and there's people all around. So we got almost to the bottom, and I just said, I have to run. I have to run to try to get to the facilities. I didn't make it. I defecated on myself. Would you think that was the bottom? Would you think that would help me not to pick up? It didn't. It didn't. I am a compulsive eater. If I am eating sugar and flour, I have no control about what I'm going to do with food. We were talking out in the hall about a TV show where one of the characters was at his in-laws' house, and a dessert had been thrown in the garbage, and he took it out and ate it. And, people laughed at that, but I didn't laugh at that because I did that. My daughter, grade school, went to school one morning. Before she left, she said, Mom, please, don't eat what's in my basket. And I said, okay, honey. And I did. I let my children get blamed from my husband because there would be something in the house when he left for work, and it wouldn't be there when he came home. And I wouldn't say I ate it. I would let him say to the kids, "What are you guys doing eating?" You know, how embarrassing. But embarrassing didn't stop me from eating. So my mother, when she was on her deathbed, like a couple days before she died, she just said, "Ginger, I am so proud of you because you have kept your weight off for a long time. For years I kept off my weight because even though I'm a compulsive eater, I am an exerciser, and I am naturally, I'm going to walk rather than park clothes. That's just how I am. So I did long distance cycling, I hiked, I didn't do a marathon, but I did do a half marathon. And exercise was always part, so I can kind of manage my weight by the physical activity. So my mom said, I'm just so proud that you've done so well. When we would go to her house for dinner, she would say to my children, her grandchildren, "Wait till your mom weighs and measures her food, then you can take it." Now, I'm a grandmother, and I got to tell you, my grandchildren come first. But for my mom, she knew how important it was for me. She saw the sanity in me when I was in program. So in honor of my mother, when we had her celebration and all my brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews were sitting in my sister's backyard, and abstinent food is going around the circle. We're all sitting, talking, laughing, and it goes around and I grab some. I can have this. This will work perfectly with lunch. It comes around again. I can have this. Before you know it, I'd had way more than I should have had in days, and I had broken my abstinence. And here, my mom had just told me the week before how proud she was of me. I'm sick. I am sick. Unless I am in a program and I am surrendered, and that's what I want to say. So, for 3 years after she died, I kept trying to come back. I kept trying. I would get up and I'd say, "This is it, guys, I'm back." And then I'd go out and eat again. I had so many day ones. I would write it in shorthand. I would write it in colored ink. I would write it in pencil. I'm a teacher. I did creative journaling classes, and I would try all these techniques to start that day one and go forward. None of them worked. My son got married in 2011, and the December before he got married, I went and bought a dress with my future daughter-in-law. And it was a little bit tight, but it was in December. So you know what comes after December? January 1st. I am going to go back to program on January 1st. Well, we have a very good friend who has a birthday that day, and so, maybe I can start on the 3rd, and maybe, blah, 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 blah. So it was February, and I tried on the dress, and I thought I looked like a stuffed sausage because I had put on weight instead of taking it off. And when I bought the dress, it was tight, but I knew that I could take it off. So I had a friend, and I was in a program. I tried to be in a program, our sister program, where you had to have 3 months of abstinence before you could share or sponsor, and you couldn't have sugar, flour, artificial sweeteners, or caffeine. I never could do that. I couldn't do it. So I was unique, and I did it my way. And I found other people who were willing to do it the way I did it. And we had our own meetings. We didn't go to those meetings with those other people because they were too extreme. When new people would come to our meeting, we'd get their name and number, and then we'd never hear from them. So in outreach, I'd say, "Hey, are you going to come back to our meeting?" And I was told more than one time, the reason that people weren't coming back to our meeting is that when they went and talked to their sponsors, they said, "That meeting does not have enough recovery." And at the time, I thought, "Bull, what are you talking about? I'm thin. I have recovery." But that's not what recovery is. So when I tried that dress on in February, I had a friend who was also in that other program, and we tried our own kind of ways to manage our food addiction. None of them worked. And she said, "Hey, I heard about a new program in town." And so she told me about Cea-How. And there was a face-to-face meeting, and it was on Wednesday, maybe it was Monday when I talked to her. And so you have to know, I stuffed myself as much as I could between Monday and Wednesday. And I was really pissed that I was really busy at school on Wednesday and couldn't stop on the way home to get even more food before I went to the meeting. Because I'm a compulsive eater, and with that one, I just thought, who knows how long I'm going to be on this one. And I really wanted only to lose 10 pounds, because I thought if I lose 10 pounds, that dress will look just fine. And so I came into program, I walked into the room, and there's faces I know from our sister program. And it was so comforting. And they said, you need 3 meetings, so you need to do phone bridge. And I thought, okay, well, that's kind of an interesting concept. And on one of my first phone bridge meetings, I heard the concept read, the Cea-How concept. Now, if you've been in another food program, 12-step, that the concept is read at every single meeting. For some reason, excuse me, darn phone. For some reason, at that meeting, when the concept was read, and they said, the tools and steps and traditions are not suggested, they are required. It was like, wow, really? Okay, I'm going to do this a little differently. And so I took it seriously, and I no longer made excuses as to why I couldn't make meetings, especially with phone bridge, because I can do a phone bridge meeting in my pajamas, and I do oftentimes, and that's okay. And hearing that night, later I found out that I had a spiritual experience. And that spiritual experience changed my life. There's absolutely I'm not even going to pay attention to that. How much time do we have, Lorraine?
I'm going to say 24 minutes and 11 seconds.
Okay, well, maybe I'll go back to my notes then. Okay, so at any rate, so I came into program and I did what was asked of me. And and the only person that could sponsor was this 30-year-old guy. And I thought, I'm taking him. Because, they talk about the 13th step. Well, he was like younger than my son, so I knew he wasn't interested in me, and I didn't have to worry about that. And he worked with me for 30 days, but he was only a food sponsor. But it was so wonderful. My aunt came into town. My sister and I met her at the airport. She was just going through. And I called him. And I said, what am I going to do? Because I really thought we were just going to stay here for like a half hour and then I'd go home. But we're going to be here till at least 8. And he said, okay, where are you? And then he told me what restaurant to go to. He told me what I could eat abstinently. And I thought, this is good. This is good. That I get to go to a restaurant and be abstinent and work the program. So after 30 days, I was very close to maintenance because I really didn't have a lot to lose. So I got a sponsor, and she was someone I knew from our sister program. And I don't know if you know about tag team sponsoring. You have your abstinence, you sponsor them, you lose yours, well then they sponsor you. And then when they lose theirs, you sponsor them. And she and I had done that for eons. We really had. And when I was at my maintenance weight, 5 pounds within, and this is when I'm working with her, I'm calling her all the time. So how do I measure this? How do I do that? And all I could think about was the food, because that's how my previous program was. My previous program, if I would have done it right, if you committed 16 ounces of a particular vegetable, and you only had 14 when you weighed it, you were expected to get 2 more ounces of that vegetable. It was crazy to me. It was crazy to me. I don't work my program like that in this program, but that's for later. But anyway, so I was fearful that I was going to do this program wrong. And she said to me after about 3 days, I can't sponsor you anymore because all you are focusing on is the food. So you'll need to find another sponsor. And I thought, okay, now here, I don't know if I've mentioned God in any of this, but God has been my companion through my walk in recovery. I could not have done any of this without my higher power. And so I was on a quest for a sponsor, and I wanted a maintenance sponsor because I needed a maintenance sponsor. So I just used the phone list, and I started calling people who were maintenance sponsors. And a woman said, well, I can't do your inventory with you and your steps with you. Well, inventory at that time. She said, but I'll be your food sponsor. So you need to find someone to do your inventory with. And, I called 2 people. The first person thought I was scamming her. And then the second person said, okay, we can do that. And now I was born in 1953, and that sponsor was born in 1953. So when I talked about embarrassing moments in 7th grade and what I had on, she knew exactly what I was talking about. It's like she was the perfect inventory sponsor. Who knows if that other person would have been? Who knows? It doesn't matter. But I trusted in my higher power, and he put the right person in front of me. And that was a gift. And then I was just finishing up our 5th, 6th step, and she said, Ginger, my husband needs me to do more family business time. So you're going to need another sponsor. And I thought, oh man, I have such a level of trust with this person. I hate to think that I'm going to start it again. So I called my food sponsor, and I said, well, this is what happened. And she goes, well, maybe it's time you just have one sponsor. Because I was calling my food sponsor, and I was calling my step inventory sponsor. And I thought, oh crap, she's firing me. She wants me to find someone else. But what she was saying to me is that she had open time on her schedule now, and that she could work with me. And I have had the gift of working with her for the last 5.5 years. And I got to meet her at my first convention, and that was a gift too. I walked into that convention. Now, service is freedom. And if we want this program to continue, we have to do service. And so, we get our 30 days. Even before we get our 30 days, we can read, we can be timekeepers, we can set up, we can close down. After we get our 30 days, we can sponsor. And we don't have to sponsor alone. If there's anybody new in this room, know that when you become a sponsor, if you don't know an answer, you say, let me check with my sponsor on that. I have been in program for 6 years. I still check with my sponsor because I don't have all the answers, and I don't have to have all the answers. But one of the things my sponsor really models is service. And that it doesn't matter what the service is. If you say yes to it, God will provide time for you and people to help you. You never have to do your service alone. And that is such a gift in this program. That is such a gift. So I went to my first convention that summer, not because I was planning on it, but a friend of mine in town, she just bought a new Volvo convertible. Outside issues. But anyway, and she also had hotel points. So she said, hey, we can drive to LA, and you won't have to pay for room, you'll just have to pay for your registration. And I said, let's go. And I walked in, and I saw all these people, and I had been to other conventions and such. But what I saw in these people were they had normal body weights. Fat serenity is a term, a negative term. And I don't want to be judging of anyone because, quite frankly, one of my dear friends at home has a disease. She has medicine she's taking. She can't lose weight. She's gaining weight. And for the longest time, this sick brain of mine kind of wondered how could she say she, for 3 months, she's the same weight, and you're abstinent. Well, that's my sick disease, judging other people. But she shared it was the medicine. And so it was just like a real gift of humility for me, not to be judgmental, because that's not my role. That's not what God wants for me in life. He wants me to do His will. So when I went to that first convention and I saw people with normal body size who were had service positions, I saw how happy, joyous, and free they were, and I wanted that. I wanted that for my recovery. And so on the way home, I said to my friend, I'm going to get involved. I want to be one of these people. I really do. And she said, Ginger, what are you, crazy? You get so You are so, let's see, what is the word? People are leaving because they need to go. Does anybody need to leave to go to the assembly right now? Because I don't want you to feel like you're sneaking out. Yeah, the area 2 is the meeting is going on right now, I think, right? Okay, otherwise they don't like me. But so anyway, but my friend said to me, Ginger, if there's a conflict, you're going to take it personally. You don't hide well when you're upset, and everything eats at you. And I went back and I talked to I thanked her because I've learned that in program. And then I went and I talked to my sponsor, and she just set me straight and said, what do you want in this program? I want recovery. Well, then you need to do service. And I was on Phone Bridge, and I was a rep. And one day the secretary wasn't there. And they said, who would be willing to be the secretary for today? Just take roll. That's all you have to do. And I knew Excel, and that's how they did it. And I said, sure, I'll do it. Just send it to me. I can do it. So after the meeting, they call me, and they say, Ginger, would you like to be the secretary? And I said, well, thank you. Let me think about that. And I went and I talked to my sponsor, and you know what she said? Of course, that's a great service. And so I was secretary for Phone Bridge for 4 years. And during that time, I became an area rep and a delegate. And now I didn't do this because I thought it was a good idea for me. I did this because my sponsor told me to. She said, Ginger, I think you need to do this. I think you need to, ramp up your service. So I became an area rep and a delegate. And when you're a delegate, you get to go to the assembly, the World Service Business Conference. They pay for that. You don't have to pay. So it's like, oh, I can get to California for free. This is pretty exciting. Little did I know, no, I knew, that when you are a delegate, you are assigned to committee work. And so during the year, those committees meet over the phone, and you've got work to do. But again, it's not work that you have to do by yourself, and your higher power really will help you through it. And that's the gift, because who in here is a professional? Well, there might be, but who in here is a professional speaker or professional motivator? You do this kind of work for a living. Not too many of us, but we can all get up and share our experience, strength, and hope, and we can keep that message alive that we're all okay. When I look at all of your beautiful faces right now, it's like a gift from God. Someone said to me, oh, you're going to Dallas. Why are you going to Dallas? And I said, well, it's 12th step, and are you going to know anybody? And I said, yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I'm going to know people that I've met at conventions and assemblies and retreats. I'm also going to meet people who I speak with on the phone, and I haven't seen your face yet, and I'm going to make new friends because I am in a fellowship where we value each other. We are compulsive eaters, and that unites us. That unites us and brings us together. And so service is a key component. Now, when I became abstinent in Cea-How, did my life become wonderful? Anybody want to answer that? No. It's not like all of a sudden all of my problems went away. They didn't go away. How does this relate to I can look the world in the eye? Well, in Cea-How I have learned to take life seriously, but not take myself so seriously. It says in the AA 12 and 12, Rule 62, don't take yourself so damn seriously. And damn is included in that. I wouldn't want to do yeah. Anyway, so I don't have to take myself so seriously. When I received the quote of what it was, when I wrote it down, I can look the world in the face. And I'm on the plane today, and our co-pilot didn't show up. And so, I know, I think we needed one. So they said, okay, it's only going to be about 20 minutes. We're going to get someone else. And it was an hour later before we took off. But it was okay. It was okay because I have learned in these rooms, it doesn't matter what happens. because God is in charge and not me. And I wanted to start this out today with the third step prayer. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. Amen. And amen. That gives me goosebumps, and that's how I like to start my day every day. So my life wasn't perfect. I was a public school teacher, elementary school, Title I school. If you know what that means, it means your kids don't have a lot of money. I loved it. I loved it. And I got moved into the library, and I love that too. And I received awards. Not that I need to tell you that I received awards, but I received awards for teaching and being a librarian. And for 22 years, I was valued, and people listened to what I had to say, and it was wonderful. And then I got a new principal, and I was old school, and he didn't want old school. So he took me out of the library and changed my job description, and my last year of work was hell. It was pure hell. But during that time, I had program. And so I could reach out and talk to people. And you know how many people in this program are teachers and administrators? Lots. And so I could find strength through that, and that was a gift. And so I was able to retire with full benefits and a pension, that if, I remember being at a meeting thinking I'm going to tell him where to shove it, and I didn't because of program, and my life could have been quite different as a result. Because my life teaching was so awful at the end, I know now I don't want to go back. And my daughter, who is single, she told us about 2 years ago that she was going to adopt a baby. And my husband said, good, we'll watch him. And I wanted to kick him because he was retired and I wasn't. And I thought, I want to be retired and bike ride and camp and travel. I do not want to be tied down, but I could, whatever. So we went to another state, my daughter and I, to pick up this brand new baby. We got to see him the first day he was born. And I had had my first granddaughter born 3 weeks prior to that. And when I held her, we drove to Kansas from Arizona 19 hours. We didn't stop. When I held her, it was like, oh my God, this is my son's baby. This is my son's baby. I just love this baby. And so when we were going back to get my daughter's adopted son, I thought, how is that going to be? And I'm going to be able to look at him and love him like I did my granddaughter. When we were in the hospital room and she held him for the first time, and I saw the love in her face, that's my baby. That's my baby. And so when he was 3 weeks old, when we came home, we got in a car accident on the way home from the airport. It was terrible, but good things happened as a result. Nobody got hurt. And when he was 3 weeks old, we got a call from the attorney saying that the birth father, who had wanted our baby aborted, found out that the baby was born and he wanted the baby. And so my daughter, now the baby was only 3 weeks old, but she loved him with all of her heart. And she looked at him and said, honey, do you want me to fight for you? And he smiled. We all know he had gas. But it doesn't matter. He smiled and she said, I'll fight. And the attorney said, you're not going to win. And she said, if I only have 1% chance of winning, I have to do this because I know that I'm going to provide a better home for this baby than what he'd have if he was raised by his birth father, who doesn't matter. But you guys, before Cea-How, if I broke a fingernail, food was the answer. Before Cea-How, if I had to do report cards that I hated doing, food was the answer, And so I went through not being valued in my job. I went through not knowing if this little grandbaby that I loved more than anything was going to be with me forever. Not that anyone is ever with us forever, but I would have been picking up and eating. There is no doubt about it. And if I would have been eating, my daughter wouldn't have wanted me by her baby. You know, she wouldn't have, because I would not be kind and loving. I would have told her how to raise her baby. You know, I would have, who knows what I would have done. I would have eaten rather than take care of the baby, because I have done that kind of stuff before. And so the good news of all of this, our baby is 18 months old tomorrow, and we found out about a week or 2 or 3 ago that the appeal process is, the 3 attorneys are all saying there's no merit to the appeal. So it looks like this baby's going to be with us forever. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And thank you, because I would share at meetings the intensity that I was feeling, the grief that I was feeling, the angst that I was feeling, and people would pray. You know, people would call and they say, we're praying for you. People would ask their churches to pray in their temples and their, you know, and it's like, they don't even know me. They don't even know my daughter. What a gift. How can we put a price tag on this? We can't. We absolutely can't. This is a gift from God. It's not a gift that's free. We've got to do something to have it. And what we have to do is work the program. We have to surrender our uniqueness. We have to be of service to other people. You know, I said to someone from Dallas this morning, how many people are in your Dallas meetings? And she started going like this. I said, wait, you have a handful of people? How did you pull this off? And she said, God pulled it off. You know, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? So, okay, so we have hope. It says, do not be discouraged. No one in here needs to be discouraged. We don't do things perfectly, and that's okay. We are on a quest. We are on adventure. And we're doing this together. You never have to do it alone. I can look the world in the eye today because I know I'm doing the best that I can through the grace of God, one day at a time. And I have a conscience that I didn't have before Cea-How that really sends up a red flag if I'm doing something inappropriately. So I am very grateful. I am very grateful for this program. I'm very grateful for this assembly. I'm very grateful for every single one of you being here today. God is good all the time. And all the time, God is good. That's right. So thank you very much for allowing me to share my experience, strength, and hope. I hope you all have a blessed day. Laretha, thank you for asking me. And with that, I will pass.
Thank you, Gina. Karen asked me to ask y'all to circle up and close